Hello, everyone. I thought I would give a reaction to the TikTok ban. Before I say anything else, though, if you want to make sure that you follow me regardless of what happens, you can follow me on Instagram and YouTube. The links for those things is in my bio. And remember though that in on I haven't been on Instagram very long, so there isn't as much content on there. And if you just want to see my readings, a lot of those are on Instagram. But if you want to get more detailed content where I talk about writing, that will be on YouTube because Instagram only allows videos up to 90 seconds. So just be aware of that. But definitely, if you want to continue to follow me, if something were to happen to this, that make sure that you follow me on YouTube and Instagram. Well, obviously, I think that this is a massive violation of free speech, and I believe in free speech wholeheartedly. And the real test, to see whether or not someone believes in free speech is, will you support free speech for things that you disagree with? It's easy to support free speech when you agree with it. The real test is, will you still support it when you disagree with it? And I do, because I believe that we need to have a free exchange of ideas in order to grow as a society. And of course, most infringements on free speech have been done, in the name of virtue. Like, we have to protect you from a foreign adversary. We have to save the children. We have to protect certain minority groups from being offended. Whatever it is. It's that. So it never comes in the form of, well, we just don't like what you say. It's, well, we have, because of this, our censorship is justified, but the government is just trying to get more power for itself. It's trying to suppress dissenting voices because TikTok gives, the average person like me, a voice, the average author like me a voice. Now, of course, I would be much more upset if business were really hot lately and were selling a lot of books, which I did sell quite a few books in 2022, less so in 2023, and even less in 2024. So it has been so business has been somewhat slow, but I still get a lot of exposure on here, and there are many authors who do make a living solely through TikTok. So the reason why I'm upset about this is because a TikTok ban would mean that many authors and other people would lose their ability to make a living, because TikTok gives people a voice in a way that other apps simply do not. It creates the author community on here, although not perfect. I will say TikTok is not perfect, because I do think that the algorithm sometimes favors romance and fantasy a little too much, but still, TikTok is better than any other app at creating a sense of community among authors. YouTube is very fragmented. I've been on YouTube for 12 years, and I barely get any views. And in the few times where I do get views, I'm usually getting views from random people, not members of my target audience. Like, for example, when I made a video talking about certain character flaws, and I used polygamy. I mean, not polyamory as an example, or swinging as an example, and somehow a bunch of people came in defending polyamory, which wasn't even the point of what I was talking about. It had to do. I was trying to discuss character choices in the context of a narrative, and so I get far. I get more like-minded viewers on TikTok. Not that there aren't any on YouTube, there are, but there's far fewer, and so and also there's a sense of isolation on YouTube as well, that because you have to look everything up and search for everything. There's this more of a sense of isolation than there is on TikTok. TikTok, you get a greater sense of community. Instagram, I haven't been on for very long, but I've only been on there a month. But Instagram is also more fragmented as well. But because of TikTok, though, I basically tripled, the amount of books that I was selling. Still not anywhere close to making a living, but I was so discouraged before I joined TikTok, and the sales really lifted my spirits. Again, I'm not where I would like to be, but I'm a lot better off than I was before I joined TikTok. So that's unfortunate. But again, a lot of these, but frankly, out of touch politicians seem to think that TikTok is just some sort of app where people do crazy dance videos where weird taboo stuff is posted. But no, there's of course weird taboo stuff on any site, on any social media site. But there's also educational videos, videos where people educate you about literature, many other things. But a lot of these politicians are so, frankly, out of touch with their youthful base. You know, this isn't. I don't think that this is a liberal versus conservative thing. This is old, crusty establishment versus the youth. It's this discrepancy that the kind of like old establishment has too much. And I don't have anything against people because of age. Like, I think that older people have a lot of wisdom. I often like talking to older people more than younger people, but these particular people, on Capitol Hill, are definitely out of touch. And so I think that's what it's really about. Is it's this ignorance, and this, of course, and the corporate lobbying is obviously contributing to this. And so there's just a lot of corruption because we live, again, like I've been saying, in an anti-intellectual culture where the establishment views dissenting ideas as a threat, and they want to crush that so they can go back to promoting mainstream narratives. Like, a lot of people like to complain about how social media is so corrupt, and it makes people crazy and this or that or whatever. And yes, the downsides of social media is that there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of unfiltered noise, and there's a lot of chaos, and the best thing about social media is that it gives the average person a voice. The worst thing about social media is that it gives the average person a voice. You get to experience the best but also the worst of humanity. But and so that can definitely be a downside. But at the same time, do you really want to go back to a world where only three networks controlled all the information in terms of like visual, audio information, or where only CNN gets to present you with the truth, or Fox News? I certainly don't want to go back to a world like that. And I think that's what these politicians are trying to do. They're trying to recreate that world so they can have more control. And and I just feel so sorry, though, for all of these authors who may lose their livelihood because of this. Now, of course, there are four scenarios. There are four potential scenarios, I think. Of course, the worst case scenario, it gets banned outright after 9 months to a year. I don't think that's very likely. It could happen. I mean, it's certainly possible. But the second, the worst case scenario is that it gets tied up in the courts, and there's losses on both sides, and it ends up being, and it still gets banned, but it's 2 or 3 years instead of 1 year. The third scenario is that it gets sold to another company, but then of course it's going to be far worse if it gets sold to an American company, and that the algorithm will definitely be worse. I don't really like that solution. Of course, the best case scenario is that TikTok prevails in the courts. That's what I would like, but I don't know if there were justice in the world, it would happen. But there's always a possibility that it won't happen. But again, though, I just feel so sorry for all of the authors who may lose their income and voice because of this. This touches and affects me in a very personal way. That this is not just some abstract problem that doesn't affect me, which of course I still think people should care about abstract problems. This is, a problem that affects me very deeply, and that's all I have to say about the ban. This video's run a bit long, but I just wanted to get all my frustrations off my chest.